Hey everyone, it's January, new year. Once again, it's time for all the gardening videos on YouTube to start popping up. I guess this is one too. But I wanted to do things a little differently. You'll see so many videos about, what seeds should I sow in January, or what I'm sowing today or this month, and it's, early January. New gardeners or experienced gardeners too. You want to get a jump start on your season, so it makes sense to start sowing early and really get ahead. But honestly, January is mostly not the best month for sowing pretty much any seeds. Um, and one of the best ways to get ahead for the season, it's not sowing seeds in January. It's kind of focusing on all the other activities that you can still be doing as long as you live somewhere temperate enough to be outside and doing things. So here, I'm in Zone 7 in Maryland. This time of year, our average high is around mid 40s. Today it's about 35, a little brisk, a couple extra layers on today. So the first thing that you can focus on in a climate like this is any garden infrastructure projects that you have planned for the rest of the year. Being outside in November, December, January, February even is a really nice time to put up things like your permanent trellis systems, or do like something I'm going to do before the end of the winter is put in some new rain barrels, some water collection systems. Kind of chaining to that, a second thing that's good to do this time of year, so long as the ground isn't frozen hard, is to do any digging projects you have. Because there's so much water in the soil right now and so little evaporation occurring, the ground's soft, again, as long as it's not frozen. It's a good time to dig things. I still have some irrigation projects to do, hoping I find time before the end of the winter for them. If not, they might have to wait till the following winter. You're just so busy during the actual, kind of peak warm months of the gardening season that some of those things are just so much better done in times that are otherwise not busy. And plus, it's a good excuse to get outside, get some fresh air, get some vitamin D from the sun. It just kind of gives a purpose for the outdoor work during the winter when otherwise you're going to be, mostly sitting inside. So back to the seed starting topic, there are a few things I do start in January. Kind of towards the very end of the month is a decent time to start allium plants, onions, chives, maybe the first round of spring onions, as well as starting a few flowers from seed and some asparagus from seed. But that's all I'll start. Seed sowing doesn't really kick in for me until kind of mid-February. Again, I'm zone 7 here. And I'm participating in a few gardening groups on Facebook and some other forums. And you see people who are so gung-ho about getting things going that they a good example, funny example, is somebody sowing loofah seeds. The 1st of January. Loofah, loofah gourd. It's in the cucumber family. And while it is true that it does require a long growing season, something like, I don't know, 100 days from transplant to actually start getting mature fruits, and maybe even a little bit longer if you're intending to dry them down on the vine and not having to deal with them while they're green. But even still, if you were to sow those loofah seeds in, say, early April, with a goal of transplanting them by maybe early May, early mid-May, you've still then got June, July, August, September, 4 months, 120 days plus of warm weather for all that growth to happen. And plus, cucurbits, actually many other plant families, don't really do well with becoming root bound and overly large. And it's really important, I think, especially for some of those plant families, to really be putting your transplants in when the root systems are small, vigorous, and unconstrained still. A fourth thing you can be doing this time of year is transplanting trees. I have some dormant hazelnuts, some beach plum, a few other things like that, a couple currants and gooseberries. Even on these cold days, as long as the ground isn't frozen, you can get a shovel in there and dig. It's a good time to transplant, mulch a little heavily afterwards, and get those type of plants in a position where when the weather does turn, the soil starts to warm up in the spring, they're ready to kind of take off and already or be in place for where they're going to grow the next season. Along the same lines, it can be a decent time of year to propagate certain things from root fragments, root cuttings. So just last week, I propagated some Bocking 14 comfrey, as well as some horseradish from root cuttings. I still have some more comfrey to do, some Turkish rocket, possibly some sea kale, and a few other kind of similar plants where, you just kind of dig it up or separate it out and plant those root fragments. Again, getting them in place before the soil starts to warm up, before the plants break dormancy, so that they're ready to go in the spring. Fifth thing you can do, even if you're in a climate much colder than mine, it's inside work, is all your planning activities for your next year's garden. Whether that's, kind of starting a list of projects, infrastructure projects for next year, putting together a kind of well thought out seed starting calendar, succession planning guide that kind of fits your own needs, all the way down to taking inventory of your seeds, your various supplies, putting orders in. All that stuff can be done. January is a great month to do it, where you're not so far removed from the next gardening season, but you also still have time to get that stuff done. And the sixth and final thing you can be doing on days like today, even, just slightly above freezing, we're gonna maybe get up to 5 inches of snow tomorrow, is, cleaning up and doing some winter weeding. I've got a bed, this is my kind of more perennial section of food forest area. I've got some beds that were very lightly mulched and have, pop-ups of various nettles. I'm looking over there, I see maybe some sort of bittercress and some sort of native lettuce. That stuff can be, it's a good time of year to weed it when it's still small. Weed it, continue mulching any areas where the mulch either got a little thin or you didn't get to it in the fall. And, that way when it is time to get out and, you've sown some seeds in February, you're ready to transplant in March and April, you don't have that precondition of needing to kind of do bed prep, again, while you're starting to get busier with other projects. And, not only projects, but when the weather warms up, there's more, just in regular life, there's more things to do, so your gardening time can be constrained by that as well. So anyway, in conclusion, I think January is a great time to do many, many things other than start seeds. It can be a good month for the garden if you're in a warm enough place, or like us, just warm enough place where being outside isn't torturous on most days. It's, today is pretty pleasant. The sun's out, and it's not frozen. And here's one such example of an infrastructure project. This is a tomato trellis for next season that I built over the past few days. It's about 50-foot long row, built with 10-foot T-posts, cattle panel cut in half to 8-foot lengths, and just simple 14-gauge wire and T-post clips to kind of hold it all together. And that way, built it this winter so that when summer comes and I'm, putting the tomatoes in here, there'll already be a structure for them to grow up.